Welcome to the Black Money Matters podcast, brought to you by the Los Angeles Sentinel and Chase Bank. I'm your host, Danny Bakewell Jr., and we have a fantastic and informative show planned for you. Today, we are going to learn about JP Morgan Chase initiative that is helping the Black community chart stronger paths towards economic success and empowerment. So let's welcome BYNA ELLIOTT. She's a wife, mother, and the head of Advancing Black Pathways at JP Morgan Chase and Company. You know, we started off this introduction and we introduced you as a Black mother and a Black wife. And so just tell us a little bit about yourself and how all of these things come together for JP Morgan Chase.
Absolutely. So one, this is a full circle moment for me. I live in Michigan, but my path to California is that my grandparents migrated from the South, from Mississippi.
Okay.
They were not together when they migrated. So my grandfather migrated to LA and my grandmother migrated to Michigan. So two of my siblings, not me, were born in LA and two of us were born in Michigan. So we grew up not too far from here on East 47th Street, went to 49th Street School, Jefferson and Carver. So for me, the idea around you introduced me as a mother and a wife, but I'm a sister and I'm a sister friend. And so it's really important for you to understand like all of that about me, because when you think about the work that I do at Advancing Black Pathway is mission driven, it's purpose driven. And so I'm excited to be here with you. I want you to say happy celebration of 90 years. Right. Black media makes a big difference in our community. And when we think about how we think about how we build trust in our community, it is through organizations and partnerships like yours that we can really engage our community and help move the needle around economic empowerment.
Well, look, I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
So much appreciate everything that JP Morgan Chase do. And like you, my grandfather migrated here from New Orleans. My parents, as we like to say, we grew up together. They married at 18 and 19 years old and had me at 18 and 19 years old. And then my dad kind of charted the way. He followed my grandfather here, and then my mom moved here shortly. So I was born in New Orleans, and then we migrated here to Los Angeles and have been here ever since. Tell our audience, I mean, I kind of have gotten familiar with, Black Pathway, but share with our listeners and our viewers just exactly what the program is, how you came to, get involved and how it's advancing our community.
Yeah, so the good thing is that Advancing Black Pathways launched in 2019. So that's actually before the awakening of America around racial, right?
There we go, right.
We knew it was happening. We understood the challenges of our Black communities, but not everybody did. And I'm proud to say that JP Morgan Chase, before that, in 2019, launched Advancing Black Pathways, led by our chairman and CEO, Jamie Dimon, who said, we need to be part of the solution to help improve the economic foundation of our Black community and help close the racial wealth gap. And that's the work that we've been doing for we'll be celebrating 5 years as Advancing Black Pathways as a strategic initiative for the firm. Mm-hmm. And I'm really proud about the progress. We've still got a lot of work to do, but the progress is substantial and it's been intentional. So when we think about it, we focused on three primary pillars initially was around building financial health and wealth creation. That's providing the community the education that they need and the tools to actually advance home ownership and around access to capital for their businesses. And then lastly, how do we help individuals ladder up to career jobs, whether that's a pipeline of talent come from colleges and universities, but also around how do you have more mobility and get the skills that you need to have a livable wage job in this country.
One of the things I appreciated, for those of you who are weekly listeners or readers of the Sentinel, one of the things you did was you put together a Black business roadmap that we printed in the Sentinel a few years back. Those points and those initiatives are part of that article and what that's all about. But, one of the things that I think is so significant about what you guys are doing at Black Pathways is that you're taking the lead. You're helping small Black businesses to grow, to get access to capital, and share with our listeners why you guys have found that necessary to take that lead and how you cultivate these relationships.
Well, we think it's important because we know that small businesses are the lifeblood of our country, and they're the biggest job creator. And when you think about it from a Black community perspective, when Black businesses thrive, the community thrives. They're more philanthropic, and they also hire from our community and create job opportunities. So when you think about building wealth for our businesses is important, but those businesses also generate wealth for others by hiring them and investing in our communities. So we took it as a personal responsibility to understand what were the challenges, how could we help, and what were some of the solutions. So we launched it initially with a program called Entrepreneurs of Color Fund. And that launched in my hometown in Detroit. And that was around providing access to capital through our community development financial institutions and other alternative lenders to help businesses grow. When Jamie walked into communities and said, what are the biggest challenges? What he heard was that Black businesses said, we don't have the same access to opportunity for growth and scale in our communities because we don't have the same access to lending opportunities. Right. And we know that that's critical. So we launched an Entrepreneurs of Color Fund. We then now have a national program around it. But that was sort of the catalyst around understanding really through our chairman's perspective around how can we be much more impactful nationally around that and then localize it. The last thing I'll talk about is that when the pandemic happened, we leaned in because we understood that our communities, right, were going to be much more severely impacted by a COVID environment of 2 years of not operating in a natural environment was going to be very impactful. So we leaned in with really good partners, whether it was the National Urban League or the U.S. Black Chamber of Commerce, Black Enterprise, and others to say, how do we help our businesses understand how to navigate and pivot and retrench so that they actually not only survive through COVID, but thrive after. And so that's been a really critical component is having the Advancing Black Entrepreneurs program, because we knew that the tools and the resources was just as critical as the capital.
Well, and I would tell you, Bakewell Media and the Los Angeles Sentinel have both been, extremely benefited from Black Pathways. And so, your investment in, both your branches in our community branch over on Crenshaw is one of those. But, you guys have invested in, this podcast room is one of those, and this show is one of the results of that investment. So we certainly appreciate it. And as a result, we're kind of growing. So we just recently, we're now working with CBS, and CBS wants to do a Sentinel moment, a weekly Sentinel moment of what's going on in our community. I wore this shirt today because a mentee of mine, a guy by the name of Brandon Lamar, who's a young African-American business person, had the idea of this shirt. And this shirt also includes a kid's comic book that he's put together. And so it's those kinds of people that Chase is investing in these young Black ideas that are coming forward are really significant. And those are the kinds of things that, Advancing Black Pathways really is doing. So if people wanted to get involved in Black Path and get more information, how do they do that?
So one, I just want to say, I love the word you use as investing, because that's exactly what we're doing is we're investing and there's a return on that. The growth and opportunity that you're experiencing is exactly what we want to see when we invest and partner. So I just want to say congratulations and to see that investment is actually paying off in dividends and a return for your growth in your business. If you want to know more about Advancing Black Pathways, you can Google Advancing Black Pathways and we'll come up, but you can also go to our jpmorganchase.com website, and then under the search function, just put in Advancing Black Pathways and you'll find out more information around all of our programs. But I also just would invite you to stop by one of our branches. Absolutely. Especially the one down the street on Crenshaw, because the reality is that we've invested a lot in understanding how we can show up in communities, regardless of their income level, and make sure that they feel welcome when they come in, they feel valued, and they believe that we're a partner around the journey around their financial goals. And for so often in our community, people really didn't understand. They didn't feel that they were worthy of, going, they're not going to listen to my ideas. They're not going to, I'm not big enough. I hear that so often. Well, I'm really not big enough, and I haven't. And that's what I've found that Advancing Black Pathways and the Black Wealth Initiative at Chase has really done it. They've gotten involved in the community. They're hands on. And, I really want to make sure that these shows and your message is that, look, we want to hear your ideas. We want to help you grow your ideas. And I think that's so significant.
one of the things that I would ask, I mean, obviously we talk about the awakening of America, and, as you said, and I would be the first to validate that JP Morgan Chase and their investment and their vision and your chairman, Jamie Dimon's vision was long before the awakening and before the murder of George Floyd. They were already on the ground making things happen. Everybody kind of followed your lead. But I think one of the things that I want to ask is that, as Black businesses begin to grow, and as they come to JP Morgan Chase, what are the things that you found that you guys offer to community businesses and your community partners that other banks and other financial institutions don't necessarily offer?
One is that we created a role called the community manager. I call them community navigators. And I know you had Deidre Porcher on your show, before this, but that community manager role is really incredible because it's a role that is meant to be a navigator to help individuals navigate and understand the banking resources that are available. That isn't about judging them or selling a product, but helping them achieve their financial goals. That role did not exist before we launched our $30 billion commitment. The other role that we created, I think, is really important when you talk about reducing the barriers.
Well, before you go on, I wanted you to say that again. 30 billion with a B. I want to make sure people understand that because that is a significant investment in our community. And I want to make sure people understand those resources that are available.
Yeah, so that 30 billion is about us providing greater access to capital and resources in our community. That's lending. The biggest component of that is lending for homeownership and lending for small business. And those are critical pieces when you talk about how do you build your wealth and grow wealth, is those investments that we're talking about. The second thing, though, is when we talk about how do we help solve the problem around growth and scale for our businesses, we also started and created another role called the small business consultant role, because we understood that there were challenges with businesses feeling comfortable enough to think that their loan decision was going to be supported, that they had the right financials. So that role is just meant to be a consultant for you as a small business owner as you begin to navigate and understand what your credit needs are and how they can help you. And also around being a really just good business consultant. These are business bankers that we transition to these roles. So they're experienced, they're knowledgeable, but the idea around them being your partner, and they provide mentorship and coaching around you and your business growth and development. Those are two roles that we think are being really critical in helping our communities navigate. There are opportunities for building wealth and really understanding how they can create generational wealth. And those positions didn't even exist. And we believe that those are critical ways that we show up in our community authentically to reduce the understanding around trust in our communities and ensure that they feel invested in and supported.
One of the things that we know, both, you as a mother and as Black families, we haven't been historically real technical. What we know is that we have a business. We know that how much it costs for us to make a pot of beans or put together dinners, with old school suppers that we would sell and raise money to pay rent and have rent parties, all those kinds of things that traditionally were kind of the stakes in our community. But we didn't have that on paper. We knew at the end of the day, we made this many meals, we sold them at this price, and at the end of the day, we had this much money left. What I appreciate and what I really, when I look and listen to what JP Morgan Chase is doing, is you've just really kind of figured out a way to formalize the business operation that our community has survived on for years.
Absolutely. And more importantly, we've tried to figure out ways for you to leverage that to get scale. Yeah. Because we know that that's the biggest difference is not only you being able to take care of your family and meet your obligations, but how do you grow that and how do you pass on that generational wealth? And how do we have the second and third generation of business owners?
And, home ownership is key. And you're particularly here in California, but, on the East Coast, but, it's a lot, it's a whole different formula.
It is.
So, advancing Black pathways, how are you guys really helping to create home ownership in that kind of generational wealth?
So when we think about housing, we're thinking about it really in two different ways. One, for those individuals that are ready for homeownership, we want to make sure that we create the pathway and opportunity and help you get the right consultant to help you understand what the options and the products are. And we also created a program. It's probably not enough money in California, but we do have a down payment program based on your zip code and high minority tracts, whether not based on your income, but where you live at and where you're buying, that can provide some additional incentives and support for you to have that down payment or cover some of those costs. But the second thing is there's a housing affordability issue in our country. And so whether you're ready for home ownership or not, we believe we have a role to play to make sure that housing is affordable, that it's quality housing, and it doesn't take up all of your paycheck to put a roof over your head. So we're doing a lot of work with our developers and our development community around ensuring that we have affordable housing and providing them the right incentives and resources and capital so that they look at housing as affordable tool for them to make money, but also to provide an impact back to the community and benefit back to the community. So you have to focus on it in two ways.
Once again, thank you for joining us today, BYNA.
My pleasure.
For more information about advancing Black pathways and the Black Money Matters podcast by Chase Bank, visit lasentinel.net. And don't forget, the Black Money Matters podcast is available wherever your podcast can be heard. I'm Danny Bakewell Jr., and remember, Black Money Matters.